All right. The Rage Slop Epidemic. This is talking about Rage Rap. This is going to be just diving into Rolling Loud 2026, which I went to. Um, Quickly look at this. Okay. Um, Give me a good photo, bro. I just want a photo. Dude, I just want a photo. Every time I click it, it's a different photo. Ignore that. Okay. Yeah, this is up to date. Okay. So, day one. Day one, when I'm going to Rolling Loud, we miss our flight to Orlando. And we're in Charlotte. I'm from New York. We had a connecting flight in Charlotte. I mess up. We missed the flight to Orlando, me and my brother. So, we have to get another flight ticket, blah blah blah. We're on our way to Orlando. We touched down in Orlando. Everything's smooth. I think, okay, that could have been way worse. Airbnb guy calls me up. He goes, "Yo, you can't stay at the Airbnb that you already booked for today because there's a water leak going on." I paid nearly $600 for this B&B for the entire weekend. Um, so I'm like, great, that's perfect. More stuff is going wrong. I have to book a motel that was $270 for one night. Worst, th- lost a ton of money right there, right? So I'm pissed. But I'm like, okay, we're gonna go here, we're gonna check in, we're going to Rolling Loud. We get there about what time slot? We probably got there around 4. So I remember when we first got there, Sofago was on the main stage. So we went and chilled in the general admission because that's what we had. And we were doing Sofago. We were listening to Sofago. He had a pretty good set, not gonna lie. It was a good first day. I was in the pits a lot the first day. Second day comes, I'm kind of beat up. We have to leave the motel. So we go to the B&B and basically I don't understand what he's talking about when he says there was um like a water leak. It looked fine. So I'm like, so what seems to be even the problem here? Anyway, that's besides the point. We get to the B&B. It's a little further from where the motel was, so we're Ubering back and forth as well. Um, anyway, the second day was also great. I got beat up the second day. I think it was the second day I got the most beat up because the third day I was chilling a lot more. I went to the Destroy Lonely pits, the Osama-san pits, Molly Santana pits, Homicide pits. I missed Night Vicious's set. I regretted that one. I was there for Apollo Red. I was there for Pretty Fun. I was there for Swappa. I was there for all lot of the great pits there. Chucky's Pit, Rack Baby's Pit, Baby Chief Do It, um, and Playboy Cardi. I got beat up, like punched in the face, bleeding everywhere. My in tank top that day was covered in blood. Okay, actually, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. That was day three, because it was Shay and Osama-san. Day two, I was also beat up, though. These 2 days, I got beat up. Anyway, that's just how my weekend kind of went at Rolling Loud. This video that we're going to react to is going to talk about Rage Slop, Rage Rap. Everyone's doing Rage Rap. Um, they're probably going to talk about how a lot of it is nonsense and it's noise pollution. I'm getting ready to be pissed off because I'm in love with underground rap. I love the underground. When I seen this lineup, everybody was pissed about how underground it was. Not me. I was so excited. Um, bought 2 tickets like as soon as they dropped. We're going back to the video though. That was my brief little Rolling Loud rant. This video is gonna be peak.
Rolling Loud Orlando was a few weeks ago. The festival, which is over a decade old at this point and happens multiple times a year across several cities globally, has become the
Dude, so much fun. Go next year if you're thinking about going. The only issue I had was I was mad that I was broke after because I wanted to go to Summer Smash because Lil Uzi Vert is headlining and I love Lil Uzi Vert. But that's my only issue that I had with Rolling Loud. Oh, and that I didn't make a lot of content when I was down there because I was having so much fun just living in the moment. But what are you gonna do?
premier hip hop festival in its niche. Festival goers had come to expect the big
Bro, I could have found this pick if I just waited, bro.
dogs of mainstream hip hop to grace the lineup, and it was getting to the point where, at least from my view on my phone, as someone who's never been, those lineups were pretty predictable. For example, ASAP
You're predicting that? Youngboy dropping out did suck, but
on my phone, mainstream hip hop
how do you predict lineups like this? What, are you saying because it's Rage and it's a lot of underground? Because people were pissed about that. I think this was unpredictable. And of course, when it comes to rap, it's not gonna be Drake, it's not gonna be Kendrick Lamar. It's not gonna be these lyrical guys. Nobody's going to a 3-day festival to listen to lyrical ass rap. We're going for the heavy beats and the loud rage sound to mosh pit at.
to grace the lineup. 2022, Rolling Loud Miami in 2023, Rolling Loud Thailand in 2024, and Rolling Loud California in 2025. At this rate, in 2026, he's gonna do Rolling Loud The Moon. But this year's Rolling Loud Orlando felt a little different. Playboy Cardi was one of the headliners, and that's a pretty predictable choice. But his signee Ken Carson getting his own headlining slot signals that we're in a new
That wasn't meant to happen though. That only happened because of Youngboy dropping out. When Youngboy dropped out, I was hoping Lil Uzi Vert would have filled that, but he's working on the album rollout right now, I think. And we're all excited for the album rollout.
era of mainstream hip hop. Not too long ago, Ken was one of the faces of what people were calling the underground. But when he's on the top spot of the Rolling Loud lineup, billed above more traditional hip hop hitmakers like Bossman D-Lo, Sexy Red, and No Cap, it's clear that the word underground might no longer apply, at least not to him. Look up and down the lineup on all 3 days.
Ken Carson's not underground anymore. He's a household name, and that's great. He's still huge. He's still rage rap, but no, he's not underground.
And you'll see that this year's Rolling Loud was betting big on that underground scene, positing them as the future of the genre. Maybe it's just my algorithm, but most of the clips and the sets that I saw on social media from that past weekend were from artists who were associated with this scene. Artists like Nine Vicious, Che, Teezus, Fake Mink, Too Slimy, Until Japan.
Yo, Fake Meek's set was such a letdown, bro. I love Fake Meek. I left to go to the Zigzag stage during Fake Meek because it was so disappointing. He goes up there with like almost zero energy and just talks for like the first 3 minutes.
YT, and SDK
YT went crazy. The YT pits were some of the craziest pits. And So Camo. So Camo did great.
were all over my phone. A lot of these artists seem to bring out Tung 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 Sahur too, who had a hell of a weekend. For what it's worth, I work at a high school and my students love these guys. But not all of these artists were being talked about for positive reasons. Fake Mink, for example, was getting so much hate for his performance that he actually wrote a response across 2
Yeah, I did read this. Um, there he didn't like sleep well or something.
tweets that was so long it wouldn't fit on the Common App college application as a personal statement. Of all those artists I named, Too Slimy might be the most divisive of them all. This
I was at the Zigzag stage when Too Slimy was going on. I wasn't there for Too Slimy. In fact, I was leaving. Um, because I don't really rock with Too Slimy. I'm gonna be honest. Too Slimy's way too much for me. The beats are kind of crazy, but he's genuinely just saying nothing. Like he is not saying anything meaningful at all. He's like saying like it's way too litty, it's way too litty or something.
one clip of Too Slimy's set was serving as a role
But the crowd, dude, when Too Slimy went on, everybody was flooding the tent stage, bro. You could not get into the tent stage anymore.
Rorschach test of
It was
sorts for
kind of
online
crazy.
music heads. Some people talked about it like it was a transgressive, brave performance, and
I think it's a meme, to be honest. I think so many people ran to Too Slimy because it was a meme. And he's super trending as a meme. I genuinely think people are LARPing liking this guy because they're like, oh shoot, it's kind of a funny gag if we all just flooded the tent stage for Too Slimy, you know?
others saw it as a sign of the end times. With his shoulder padded suit making him look like a distant relative of the Addams family, he was up there shrieking and hollering on stage as the loudest, most abrasive beat you could possibly imagine thundered on in the background.
Creating custom clothing with Tapstitch
Lad.
is simple. Start by choosing a garment, then click Design Now.
Too Slimy's controversial approach to making music has made him the face of what some detractors are calling rage slop. Brought to you by the same youth who cooked up words like low-genuinely, furthering the Germanification of the English language.
Lococantologicalos de Categlora. Supercircaflowistic expialabro state.
It's a combination of
What were those words, bro? Genuinely, what?
Lococantologicalos de Categlora. Supercircaflowistic expialabro state.
It's a combination of the words rage and slop. Rage has been used to describe the loud, abrasive rap music that is mostly tied to Playboi Carti's 2020 album Whole Lotta Red.
Playboy Cardi, Trippie Red, Ken Carson. Um, X. X was an early innovator of that rage sound. A lot of people that built the rage sound of like the early 2020s probably were inspired by X. X was ahead of his game.
and everything that's been influenced by it in its wake. Slop by itself has become one of the defining words of the internet in the last year or so. Merriam-Webster, the dictionary company, actually named it the word of the year in 2025, describing it as digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity by means of artificial intelligence. I would argue that in its colloquial usage, slop doesn't necessarily have to be created by AI, as it can be used to describe any sort of content that's hollow, rushed, or lacking in any substance. Of course, a lot of that in 2026 is being generated by AI, but that's neither here nor there. The great Instagram page Off Record Sounds posted a glossary of new music terms, and rage slop was one of them. They defined it as the new wave of harsher, super abrasive
Artists such as Shay, Too Slimy, and Blood. I can't listen to these two. It is incredibly hard to listen to these two. This is definitely the worst. Listening to Too Slimy is insanely hard. Blood, Alucard. Alucard by Blood is a good song. I did go see Blood at Rolling Loud to try to get what the hype was, because he's been trending as well. It was alright. Not terrible, but nothing really to say. But I disagree that Shay is this category. Shay is closer to Osama-san than Rage Slot, like the Osama-san and Netspend stuff.
distorted rage music in the modern underground, from artists such as Che, Too Slimy, Blood, etc. Off Record Sounds himself was at Rolling Loud interviewing fans, and one of them even specifically called Too Slimy rage slop.
That's just rage slop, bro. It's absolute slop.
Plenty of people have expressed these types of opinions about the guy, seeing him as the physical manifestation of the downfall of the hip hop genre, a title that has been bestowed on so many other artists in the past, from Soulja Boy to T-Pain to Lil Wayne to Lil B to the entire SoundCloud wave. For what it's worth, Too Slimy sees himself as a logical extension of the latter. In an article titled "Too Slimy Isn't Here to Be a Meme Artist," he said, "Back then,
You're never touching the Grammy stage, bro. You're not even gonna be allowed to go, bro.
people were hating on what Uzi and Cardi were doing. They considered it mumble
That is facts, though. I might be an old head. Yeah, am I an old head? I just I don't think so. I genuinely think that he's a meme. He's a meme rapper.
rap. Now, we're like 10 times that. If you showed someone in 2016 this type of music, they'd lose their mind, because they were already losing their mind over that. You know what I mean? What's going on now is a big movement. People are gonna look back and remember this era for sure. To me, I wouldn't say that
This is probably, I feel like Rage Slop is going to be like 2020 underground rap. Like Summers and Autumn and Jace, and who listens to those guys these days? Those guys did not become household names.
I'm a too slimy soldier, but I have given his projects a chance. High Anxiety and More Anxiety, the deluxe version. Mostly in the gym, because I'm trying to understand the hype. People on this channel have been asking me to cover Too Slimy in some way, shape, or form in the comment section for months now, so I figured it was time for me to give it a shot. I saved a song or two, like Meat, and I found myself a new vocal stem just walking around saying, "Shorty in love with that meat," which probably got me on a list. But a lot of the other songs I heard kind of blended into each other, kind of faded into the background while I was working out.
My one issue with certain underground rappers is that every sound, every song is kind of blending. Nine Vicious struggled with this early. His newer sound is actually really good. Nine Vicious is definitely evolving, and that's what you want to see. But Nine Vicious's earlier projects kind of all sounds the same.
To be fair, that happens to a lot of music I listen to in the gym, so it might not be a too slimy problem, but I didn't necessarily leave that project thinking he was like the savior of rap music. So what's the deal here? Is there value in this new wave of underground artists who are making this loud, abrasive music, or is it all just kind of slop and shock value content that has nothing beneath the surface for us to unpack? Is Too Slimy
I hate how he thinks that his music is super punk aesthetic. That's one thing I hate about Too Slimy. He thinks he's punk. Um, no. I'm not letting he because he says like he's heavily inspired by Minor Threat. First of all, in that little clip, he says the Minor Threat song, like he says the name wrong.
the harbinger of death for the genre that we all grew up loving? Or at least, is there anything that can differentiate a good rage song from something that can be called rage slop? Well, there's a well-accepted premise amongst musicians that a good song is a good song no matter what genre it's played in. Like if you took all the production out and just
I agree with that take.
sang the lyrics and the melody with an acoustic guitar, or maybe sat at the piano and played it. If it was a good song, it would still be engaging. The entire 2010s YouTube economy of white girls covering rap songs on the guitar or ukulele.
See? You remember what was that guy? He would play like on the acoustic guitar and then be like Young Boy beside him. That's how you know it's a good ass song.
Is proof of this, even if you don't like that kind of stuff.
Or King Von.
The world is full of EDM remixes or bossa nova instrumental versions of hit songs, because those versions appeal to some people the same way the originals might appeal to you or I. They're ubiquitous and catchy and recognizable all on their own, even if you take away all the production elements that you might remember those songs for. They're good songs. This concept is evidence for the power of songwriting. Songwriting is about the holistic combination of lyrics, melody, structure, and the overall music. I know when I listen to certain songs in the rage genre, I think some of them are good, and I think some of them aren't as good. And I think unpacking everything that's going on and just looking at the
Right,
songwriting
you really
helps us
have
understand
to
why.
you
If
have,
you
you
take
have
what
to
these
dive
artists are
deep
doing on
into
a
the
track, and
underground
you
to
just put
find
it on
so
another
many
beat
hidden
and
gems,
tone
but there's
down all the production choices,
so
would it
many
still
gems
feel like
right
something?
now.
I'll give you an example that I think would. Che's $1 Million Mansion.
Great song.
VoiceMod gives you over
L ad.
150
Dude, what are
line-free
these
real-time
ads?
voice changers and unlimited soundboard.
Yes, the bass is louder than most people's cars could handle, his pitch down vocals are crunchy, and he's shouting. If you pitch them back up, he'd probably sound like Granddad from the Boondocks telling Huey and Riley to take their shoes off in the house. He sounds like the audio version of this Teen Titans meme. And if someone just loaded in, spawned in from the year 2013 and put this song on, they might have an aneurysm. But with that being said, I love this song. I think it rocks. And a part of the reason why is because I think it's actually a good piece of
bro.
songwriting. I think if you took what Che did, delivered it in a different way, over a different beat, it would still sound good. One of the reasons why is Che actually has a very consistent flow and rhyme scheme that anchors the song and keeps it
He
together.
also
It's simple,
knows
for
what
sure.
he's
He's not
doing
Rakim or anything,
musically.
but I think that it's very effective. There are two different rhyme scheme patterns happening in each of these lines. Told that
Y'all watched the video with him and Blackboy Max in the booth. That was a good ass video. Shay killed it. Shay and Blackboy Max, bro, they've been locked in for a while now.
take off her shoes when you set foot in the mansion. Do not tell me what to do, Sway, you do not got the answers. Like, he's not Nas, but this is like a little bit more than the bare minimum. And especially when you adjust
Right,
and
there's-
compare it to his peers, it stands out. I've been
He's
listening to
saying
a lot
something.
of Future's DS2 for another video that you guys will probably see soon.
There's a
probably
good
next
vibe
week.
to
And
it.
this song feels like it has that era of Future as an ancestor. If you adjusted the loudness of the 808 and the general abrasiveness for the era that it came out in. The other reason why I think this song kind of stands out is Che is actually on topic. He's talking about his very nice and expensive mansion. Every single line is tied to this premise. Whether it's the pool in the back, the chandeliers on the ceiling, or the exotic pets he's using for his rugs. For what it's worth, I fuck with lemurs. I don't like the idea of making a rug out of a lemur. They are one of the world's most endangered groups of mammals, but I can understand how that makes the fictional boast of having a lemur as a rug stand out even more, because like, you shouldn't have that. So it's that hard to get, and thus probably that expensive. I don't know what it is about this scene of underground artists and lemurs, but Too Slimy also had a pet lemur at some point, which you definitely should not have. They're pack animals, they prefer to live live in groups, they're very communicative, and what ends up happening when you raise them by themselves is they get really aggressive when they like come to maturity, and they always like scratch and bite their owners, and then they get sent to like a sanctuary or a shelter. They do not want to move it, man. I think the movie Madagascar did like genuine damage to like a whole generation. They are a lot spicier than they look. So for any aspiring artists watching this video, when you do make it big, please skip the exotic pet arc of the bad boy musician experience. We've had enough of that. You don't need to do that. Anyway, I think the fact that Che uses flows and rhyme schemes that resemble the hip hop music of the past and is actually on topic for the whole
Shay is Shay is a upper catalyst of the underground scene. There's gonna be a huge trickle down effect from Shay because okay, I'll give you three right now. It's gonna be Shay, Osama San, and Netspin. Netspin is already seeing that trickle down. I think Too Slimy is a Netspin trickle down because Netspin when Netspin first was starting popping, I hated it. First of all, I have my own music, right? Genuinely, I'm was mad that Netspend was popping because I felt like I had such a similar sound that just wasn't getting the same buzz. Now, he would like this is about the time he did the Def Catone sample. Um, and I was like, yo, Netspend sucks, bro. I'm literally better than Netspend. Um, and I was like, he uses the same type of beats I do. His mastering and his vocal presets and quality and mic is probably way better than mine. But I genuinely think that I was making better music. Now, this is probably egotistical and like crazy of me because I think my music is I think my music is pretty good. I think there's some of my songs that actually bang, right? But I mean, if you're an artist, you gotta kind of think that way. Otherwise, like, what are you doing? But besides the point, I've started to like what more and more net spend. Like net spend set at Rolling Loud was so good. Me and my brother, we were standing down as net spend walks out in his red hair, bro, and it starts pouring raining. It couldn't have rained for anybody else, but it rained for Netspend, bro. It was an aura moment. And that was kind of when I was awakened to like, oh my God, Netspend kind of has aura. Like Netspend is kind of tough. Seeing that, bro, and the rain. I did leave after like two songs in the rain though because I wanted to get out of like the pit zone because I knew it was gonna be so muddy. And I was like, I'm not trying to get super muddy.
song adds to the replayability of Million Dollar Mansion. I know the first time I heard this song, I played it back like 5 or 6 times in a row. And Shay is grounded enough in the lineage of hip hop, he feels like a logical evolution of the things that came before him, to the point where I think he does have the ability to cross over and maybe reach people who feel like they wouldn't like a lot of the rap music in this era. He's also just a genuinely talented artist, produces a lot of his own stuff, including Million Dollar Mansion. So if you're watching this video and you've like generally been tuned out on this scene of music, but you're at least curious enough to see if maybe some of it is for you, I would give Che a shot. When I listen to Too Slimy's music, I don't necessarily find either of those traits that I just highlighted. It's a lot harder to figure out what the hell he's talking about, if there is any consistent theme in general. It's pretty generic, like fuck the girl, party hard, drive fast car, wield powerful weapon type lyrics. The rhymes are also not complex. At the best, they're gonna rhyme at the end of the line, maybe. And I actually don't think it's a requirement for lines to rhyme. There's a lot of great future lines, for example, that do not rhyme with each other back to back. Sometimes I actually think that makes them hit harder. But that's not what Too Slimy's doing here either, to be clear. The beats that Too Slimy picks are also a lot.
Too Slimy is beat carried. I genuinely think the only appeal to a Too Slimy song would be the beat. And maybe his vocals kind of emphasize the beat. But it's not musically talented, and I think it sucks, and I think it's meme music.
lot further away from the tenets of mainstream hip hop than something like Million Dollar Mansion is. They're more abrasive, more electronic, less conventional.
He's trying to do the punk aesthetic, I swear. And if you've ever listened to punk rock, um, it's not structured, right? It's not very structured music. It's punk rock is saying something though. It's usually anti-establishment. It's usually anti-capitalist. It's usually anti-racial, like hate. Anything hateful, punk music is usually against. Usually. Too slimy. You are not punk. You are not anti anything right now. You are saying nothing. You're right. It's unstructured, kind of like punk rock, but it is not even close to what punk rock does.
Structured. When Too Slimy described his own sound to Dazed, he said,
We have got to the point where
Elad,
literally anybody can build a fully
Elad,
working app without
get
knowing
off
how to
my
code.
screen.
This is
I'd say it's like concert music. It's meant for the show. It's meant for performance. It's a mix of EDM, punk, and rap. It's
You see what I mean? EDM, punk, and rap. EDM, yes, kind of with the beats. And rap, yes, kind of with the beats. But I would say it's more like zoo noises, rap, and EDM.
telling to me that rap is the third genre he listed in that. Because at times when you're listening to Too Slimy, that feels like an accurate order. In fact, one look at the self-professed Too Slimy heads on the internet, and you'll see more comparisons to artists and genres outside of hip-hop than inside of it. People who are into things like noise and screamo and experimental music are the ones jumping into his defense. I solicited more opinions from my Instagram followers, and I got a few people willing to open up about their love of Too Slimy to help us understand what the hell is going on. One said, I've been into hardcore music and experimental music for a
Yeah,
long time, and
hardcore
Too
people
Slimy
would
to me at
like
least
it.
seems like another artist who makes music you have to
Or like grindcore people. Yeah, this clip. Um, Minor Threat is a known punk band. He's literally LARPing as punk.
evolve your ears to listen to. I compare it to screamo in the
I use this phrase. I use trained ears for describing underground rap because a lot of my friends they do not. They don't understand underground rap. They think it's terrible. Um, you have to have trained ears. You have to understand what is happening with the genre. Um, it's more based on vibes. It's more based on sound. It's more based on bass. See what I did there? Anyway, um, but there's so much energy behind this genre, and it is youthful. It's it's the newer generation, like the kids that are like eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, the seniors probably too. Basically, anyone in high school or going into high school right now, they're listening to underground rap if they are into rap. I know some kids that are into underground rap. I've had conversations with kids that are telling me their favorite underground rappers. I had a kid that I know. He came into my stream and he was trying to put me on a Matt Proxy. I couldn't get into Matt Proxy. I don't like the way the beat wavers and the vocals go quiet and back in. I think it sounds funky. It throws me off. But it's not the worst. But they're finding more underground rap. I got put on by my friend's little sister to some guy. It's like G3 something. He's the one that was like, I've been with Reggie for like 30 days. I think I'm Clover now. That guy. I got put on to him by my friend's little sister who's like in ninth grade. He's tough. He's got bangers, dude. Popular Loner, I think the song is called. That is a great song.
The way I enjoy it, but Too Slimy has a completely different scene around him, which makes him stand out much more. I don't think most
So the youth is going to have trained ears to the underground, and I'm glad to see that as I enter my unk age of 20 years old.
people want to admit it, but most people enjoy music for the feeling slash vibe it gives them. And I think the intense vibe of Too Slimy connects to people in the same way punk or hardcore would. And I think that's intentional because I remember this clip of Too Slimy showing some streamer 12XU by Minor Threat. Too Slimy actually has
It's 12XU, by the way.
on multiple occasions mentioned his love for Minor Threat or Bad Brains or other hardcore acts. And so it makes sense that his music is reaching some people in these subcultures rather than in the larger umbrella of hip hop. Another
I think you searched up rock and then like picked like three
said he
bands.
pushes the blown out post rage sound to the furthest, to the point that it is truly challenging to listen to, subverts the trend of sampling songs from the 2010s by making them almost unrecognizable in a way that feels like a commentary on that trend itself. There's definitely a
My favorite underground rap is the rock samples. As He Doesn't Exist, I think her name is. Everglades samples Nutshell by Alice in Chains, I believe. I believe that's the song that's sampled. It is Alice in Chains. I'm just not 100% off the top of my head if it's Nutshell, but I do think it's Nutshell. That is a great song. She does great.
trollish undertone that I am not super into, and he is
I
becoming
like
more
the
of a
rock
meme than an
beats,
artist. But I don't think that negates how forward
the
thinking the
rock
ideas are.
rage.
He feels like a really accurate representation of this current cultural moment. While some Too Slimy disciples, like the one I just heard from, see him as a representation of this pride, insane
You know what thing Too Slimy does really well is the antics. That's how you blow up his antics, and I've never been one to do antics. It's just not my authentic self to do some crazy shit. Yeah, it is, but I'm also very like toned down. I'm not enough about
world
me
that we live in
because
today, others mess with him
that's not
because of
what this
how
video is
different he is
about.
from the pack, especially in image at a time when so many artists and other celebrities are on GLP-1s, wearing archive fashion and showing as little of themselves as possible so as to not be perceived as cringe. While I'm not arguing for the quality of music or accessibility here, I'm specifying on the ability to create something genuinely unique. Whether it be rage-inducing or barely listenable, the most interesting thing about Too Slimy is his lack of conformity. One thing he really has that a lot of rappers lack is audacity, which is arguably the most important thing to correlate to success within music right now. While the nature of his music makes it so that the music can't be argued in favor of it, it feels really refreshing to see someone so polarizing who looks nothing like the ideal rapper.
See? The antics. I literally just said this. He does this thing where he's like, I don't care what anybody else says. I know my shit is hard. Everyone that doesn't see that is being left behind. He's subconsciously, or inadvertently is the right word. He's inadvertently putting that in our face that, oh, if we don't understand this music, we are going to be left behind in the music scene. So, subconsciously, the listener might think, I'm going to listen to Too Slimy so I don't get left in the past in the music industry or scene. He does that very well.
In our current day where people are prioritizing looks maxing rappers. So again, I'd have to say the answer is
Oh, and he's bigger, I guess.
freedom. Freedom of conformity.
Like Lucky. Alright.
Freedom of self. To some, Too Slimy's music is more about the theoretical boundaries that he can push with it than it is about the music.
They basically said, I listen to Too Slimy because he's chopped. What?
music itself. To others, it's about the pure sonic assault that you get from listening from it, especially in a live setting. These aren't traits that necessarily align with the original
I will not lie. The stage was booming with the Too Slimy bass, bro. It was kind of hard.
tenets of hip hop, but because of the context he's been placed in, by playing Rolling Loud instead of DIY basement shows or touring with hardcore acts, by hanging out with Blackboy Max, by being covered by curators.
I didn't watch this stream. I love Black Boy Max. Black Boy Max is one of my idols. I look up to this guy a lot. I've been watching him since like 2022, to be honest. Who else we got here? I don't think I know anybody. Oh, this is Polo Boy. He used to be a TikToker.
And figureheads who mostly cover other artists in
I
underground
think,
hip
I
hop.
think
He's
that's
become the
him.
face of change in that genre, despite it being fair to question whether that's even what he's making at all. To some, hip hop is a giant umbrella, and so the same way that you wouldn't expect the acoustic guitars and three-part harmonies of a Fleetwood Mac song to show up on an AC/DC album, it's fair to not expect the coherence and storytelling of Ice Cube's It's a Good Day to show up on Too Slimy's High Anxiety. To others, maybe a lot of this tension that's in the hip hop world around an artist like Too Slimy, with old heads throwing their hands up and cutting their ears off, could be removed by just not calling this hip hop. Maybe it's better to see this as EDM, as some form of digital punk. Genre is a construct anyway, but it's funny because so much is just narrative driven when it comes to Too Slimy. Too Slimy's music is definitely out there, but I'm spending a lot of time talking about him because other people have spent a lot of time talking about him. And he's up there on the Rolling Loud stage, but if you really wanted some cutting edge shit, you gotta check out Perkatrick, who is genuinely making music to
Perk a trick. I don't know who that is. We'll check him out later.
whether you like that or not.
Make your browser fast.
Lad.
Make your browser safe.
Perkatrick makes Too Slimy sound like Big Sean in terms of like accessibility. I think overall, when it comes to evaluating rage music, it would be best to think about it from a different perspective than if you were listening to a more traditional hip hop album. It's like getting mad at an ice cream shop for not having barbecue chicken. The question should be, how vivid of a world can this artist build? Not how much does it align with the things that I've heard before. The way Che got my attention might be a bit more analogous to how a traditional rapper would, but the way Cardi did on music, for example, is pretty different. He filled the album with Swamp Izzo ad-libs to tend to a particular nostalgia from the mix.
That was annoying though. The Swamp Izzo spam and the hi-hat spam was annoying. So many people had a problem with that when he dropped I Am Music.
Mixtape era of the 2000s and early 2010s. Cardi also has like 100 different voices at his disposal. From the baby voice of Die Lit and the Leaks to the yelling on Whole Lotta Red to the deep voice he started messing around in the pre-music era. What Cardi lacks in like straightforward lyrical depth, he makes up with in being an extremely versatile vocalist for the kind of music that he's making. And then with music, it felt like he was on the Super Smash Bros. Screen hitting the question mark button and playing as a random one on every song. So while that album was like a little bit too long and a little bit too like not cohesive for my taste, it's pretty cool that he can do that. There is a level of dynamism to his performance that a lot of other artists just don't have. And when you listen to Too Slimy, it feels like he has one voice, he has one gear, which I feel like puts a ceiling on how engaging of a vocalist he can be. If the whole world
Every Too Slimy song is super similar. Just saying.
is not grabbing you right up front, probably not gonna grab you at all. The beats instead are doing a lot of the work, and in a subgenre like Rage,
Beat carried.
I mean, I think that's okay. If anything, it's kind of necessary to have like insane balls to the wall production. But I think the number one indicator of your work being considered rage slop is if it's just not singular or unique enough. Slop, after all,
I think it's gonna be anything that isn't super musically structured in the rage rap.
implies a lack of personality and purpose and intentionality.
Dude, because I swear to God, Too Slimy's 808s are not synced up to the right metronome or anything like musically structured a lot of the times. It's a lot of just random loud bass.
And if your beats are tight beats and are hard to distinguish from the next rage artist, and your vocals aren't doing enough to differentiate yourself, then yeah, you're gonna catch the allegations. For artists in the scene like Che or Pretty Fun, who produce themselves at least a
I love Pretty Fun, bro.
good part of the time, they have this huge advantage in being able to like build a very particular sonic world. That's why maybe those are the artists that draw me in a little bit
Pretty
more.
Fun
At the
is
end of the day, I
super
think it's
unique.
important to remember that while there wasn't always a catchy catchphrase for it, every genre has its own pockets of slop. There will be music from this rage era that will go on to be remembered fondly and inspire the next generation of younger artists who may take things somewhere that we would have never expected it to go. But whenever there's a new sound, there's a lot of kids who get into it without necessarily understanding what their perspective is or
I was literally just talking about this.
who they are as an artist first. And on the internet, they could get a lot of buzz before they're ever able to answer those questions. But even without that charitable take on some of those artists, there are also a lot of opportunistic hacks out there who just try to jump on a wave and make a particular kind of music because they think it's cool.
LARPers.
Such is the nature
Yes.
of any subgenre or any trend, I mean, even outside of music. But now we have this word slop in our lexicon that can really like accentuate that and explain that feeling. I also think that when it comes to these younger pockets of rap music, where so much relies on this inherent coolness and the selling of a lifestyle, presentation is everything.
This video is so peak, bro. Everything that I have like given analysis or reaction on, he has talked about. Like, we are on the same wavelength. I love that.
Artists who are going to beat the slop allegations are going to be able to present themselves in a particular way. Cardi and his Opium label have this down literally to a science. Too Slimy's aesthetic seems to accentuate the fact that he's an oddball who stands out, which will work in his favor for the people who get it, but will definitely not help win over any of his detractors. The other key aspect of all this is performance, especially in a high energy lane like this. Nine Vicious literally made a song on his last album called Rolling Loud that has baked in ad-libs of him yelling like, "Open up that pit."
That's kind of corny. But anyway, um, that album was pretty good.
Included in the studio version. To me, that
I accidentally missed Nine Vicious's set because I lost my phone and I had to go on a whole freaking trip to go find my phone. I was
that's
pissed.
contrived, but I'm probably just not the target audience. It looked like the people at Rolling Loud were into it, so to each their own, I guess. It can be hard to evaluate how good these festival-based live performances are from a distance, because I think they're more about what's happening in the crowd than they are about what the artist is doing on stage themselves. When you watch the live stream of an artist just screeching and rapping along for like 20 or 30% of the actual track, at home you're like, yeah, this is bad, I don't want to watch this. But those kids in the pit are probably having an incredible time, and after all, they are the ones who bought the ticket. With that being said, I think most, if not all of these artists could learn to use a bit more intentionality in their sets and their performances. As a fan, I really appreciate that kind of stuff. Even Che, who I was defending as being the most conventionally accessible out of all these kids, was rapping like less than half of the lyrics from what I saw when I watched his live stream. Festivals are a bit different because these artists might not have the resources to do big stage design.
When you are performing in this genre, in the underground rap genre or the rage rap genre, it is more about getting the energy up into the crowd. You need to control the crowd more than you need to perform the song. The speakers are booming, blasting. It doesn't matter if you're hitting every vocal note the same as if you were at like a rock concert, right? Um, these guys need to know how to control crowds, and there's some that do it greatly, and then there's some that have struggled.
When they have 30 minutes on a stage and then someone else is on 15 minutes after them. You know, you can't build this gigantic, incredible set unless you're like the headliner. But if they want to tour on their own,
Except SD Kid had like an entire castle and knights and stuff.
which I'm sure a lot of these artists already are, they're going to need to do more than the bare minimum when it comes to creating that live experience if they want fans to remember them and care and come back next time. So how do you feel about Too Slimy and the Rage movement? Do you think it's all soulless noise slop, or is it what gets you out of bed every morning? If you like
I
videos on music and
don't like Too Slimy. Am excited to see what um happens further with the genre. I'm really big into this scene, to be honest. I spend a lot of time listening to this music and finding new artists. And I'm in so many spaces where I am knowledgeable. I'm very knowledgeable on the underground rap scene, because I enjoy it so much. And I think me making content right now, there's gonna be a lot more underground rap videos. I've been doing all sorts of weird stuff right now, but as I kind of try and find my niche and find what works and find what people are entertained by, I think I want to go down the music and the fashion path. I think that's kind of what I want to do, but I also want to do like weird shit too, like the random reaction videos or me playing some dumbass game. Anyway,
culture like this one, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I post a video
that was the Rage Slop Epidemic. This is a good video, great video actually. Um, but yeah, when it comes down to my content, I think it's only going to get better as I find like my niche and I get more comfortable doing it and I get better quality stuff. But this is the type of stuff that I really have like knowledge about the underground rap scene. So I think I'm gonna head more in that direction. Um and rap in general too. Music is a big part of what I like. And it's not even just rap. I listen to literally everything. So a lot of music content probably. Just letting everyone know that.